Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of season 3 of the Bennett Brothers Wrestling Corner. Now, I hope that your weekend was as easy as using a napkin. And I know what you're thinking. This is a pretty unusual sight that it's just me and not Chris. For those of you that don't know, Chris is at work at the very moment. And when he asked me if I would do the wrestling corner by myself, I said it depended on if I been on my work for school. And unfortunately today wasn't given that much work. Given that much work that had to be done um, the next day or so. So even though it's just me alone and not Chris here, even though it's not two of us, I promise to deliver twice the fun that will feel that nothing's missing. Um, no, last week, because of Chris having to go to work and because it was my orientation, we kind of cut everything a little bit short. But there was a topic. It was supposed to be a topic for that wrestling corner, and it had to deal with Brock or Bork Lesnar or Brock Lesnar. Um, questions of whether enjoyed him as a face or as a heel, just in a way kind of a career retrospective. I'm trying to remember who was it that requested basically the Brock themed show. Um, Hold up, trying to find it right here. Um, in fact, it was Sin. Um, but change the topic for a little bit. And unfortunately, it's a little bit sad news. Last week, um, the wrestling community um, lost another wrestler. Um, Last week, we lost Sean O'Hare. Um, only age only at age 43, and I believe they said it was parent suicide. Um, man, I remember Chris telling me that about Sean O'Hare passing away, and I'm like, jeez. And for those of you that didn't know Sean O'Hare, well, I'm speaking for me. When I first saw Sean O'Hare, was around the dying days of ECW, not ECW, WCW, and he was one of the standouts of like that new blood that came during that late, those last few days of WCW. I mean, he really stood out to me. Um, and when he came over for the invasion, him and Chuck Palumbo, they had a little brief feud for the WCW tag teams, I believe with APA or I believe with the Brothers Destruction. I believe both of them. They had matches with both of them. Um, and then after a while, hold up. After a while, you didn't see him until about 2003, where he started cutting these vignettes that I remember being so, you know, he's in a black suit, and mostly all of his vignettes ended with, "I'm just telling you something that you already know," or "I'm not telling you something that you already know," something like that. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then he would debut, and he would kind of be like this devil's advocate character, and then that would kind of fade away when he was paired with Roddy Piper, and that was about the closest. Sean O'Haire in WWE, he didn't really obtain. I can't even say moderate success. I mean, that whole Devil's character maybe could have went somewhere, you know. And even to this day, I found the pairing of him and Roddy Piper a bit strange. But nonetheless, we lost Sean O'Haire last week, September 8th, at the age of 43. Um, my prayers go out to his family, his loved ones. I know that he was married at one point. So whoever was his former spouse, you know, heart goes out for her. And, of course, to his family, lost another one to suicide. um, what else? A little bit of recap on, Raw. Kick things off with, John Cena and Paul Heyman. John Cena putting Paul Heyman in a headlock, taking him in the back and stuffing him in John Cena's own locker room. And, Great Khali has been basically been guarding the locker room for the whole night. Had Jericho go up against Corporate Kane. It's now becoming official that, yeah, it's Corporate Kane. I won't be surprised that when the graphic comes up, the name graphic, when he comes out, it says Corporate Kane. Whoa. First I thought they said that Christian was going to wrestle in the kickoff show against Jericho. I was thinking Jericho's working double duty. And also we had Jack Swagger defeating Bo, which pretty much kind of surprised me. I thought that it was not going to end, pretty decisively, with a convincing finish. I thought it was going to be, Bo Dallas might run away, or he might get the chief, but no, Jack Swagger was able to get the win with the Patriot lock. Mark Henry is supposed to be supposed to have something with Rusev. I didn't see SmackDown, by the way. I was supposed to watch it earlier today, but I took a nap, and that's it. I didn't watch Takeover yet. Takeover 2. But so don't spoil what happened on Takeover. However, I was a bit spoiled. Look at that picture of Mark Henry for this graphic. But I went to W.com just to rewatch the promo for the first ever Takeover, which I actually liked. And I look on the corner on the right, and I see Sin Cara and Kalisto backstage with the belt, and I'm like, oh shoot, they beat the Ascension. So that's the only thing that I was spoiled about for Takeover. Whoever else saw Takeover, don't spoil anything. Don't spoil anything else. Well, I can't say it's too much to spoil. I did happen to find out that Kenta did change his name for WWE. Changed his name to Hideo or Hideo. Forgetting the last name. It's in tribute to Crystal. It's in tribute to somebody. I'm not so sure if he made that decision because maybe WWE wanted to copyright the Kenta name. There's been some instances where, a wrestler changes their name not because the company wants them to change it, it's because the wrestler does not want that name to be copyrighted, just in case, they leave the company and, okay, now they can't even go back to using that established name because now it's copyrighted by the company, said company. So I hope by tomorrow I hope to watch Takeover. What else we had on Raw? We had a women's tag team match between team of Paige and Nikki Bella versus Brie and AJ. Really didn't miss much. Be quite honest, really didn't. There was a lot to be desired. I mean, it was really uneventful. You know, unless you count, you know, Nikki, you know, doing the Nikki breaker on her sister after her sister been pinned by Paige due to the rampage, and you know, Paige, you know, and AJ, you know, having, you know, skipping simultaneously. Once again, the mind games between them. Look at Golly. Oh my god. But other than that, you didn't really miss much with that match. Um, what else had on Raw? Um, just had had Bray Wyatt versus Big Show, stemming off of something that um, happened on SmackDown, and I'm guessing Bray Wyatt's next feud is with the Big Show. Um, you know, that could do wonders for him. You know, getting a win, especially a clean finish, a clean victory over the Big Show. But the finish of the match wasn't clean because Luke Harper got involved in once again, and then we'll go on. Him and Rome are going to be double chokeslam once again. Um, you know, the booking. You know, if you were judging things on booking, you know, you would maybe find the booking of, you know, Rowan and Luke to be a little bit on the strange side as of late. Ever since, you know, they lost, you know, their tag team match, which was great, by the way, to the Usos. Ever since then, you know, the booking between them has been, you know, topsy turvy. You know, it's been very topsy turvy. when Big Show had them, when Big Show had them by the throat, I thought that Bray Wyatt was gonna come from behind and maybe, you know, chop block him or so, because Bray Wyatt did attack Big Show's leg early in the match. You know, that was not going to be the focal point of the match for some reason, but so I was a little bit surprised that Luke and, you know, and Rowan got double chokeslam. Really was. Also, it's supposed to be getting Night of Champions early. Supposed to be getting Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns tonight. I doubt that match is actually going to happen. I really doubt it. And, you know, supposed to be having John Cena, you know, fight part, which is coming up next. Or Brock Lesnar. And then our last match was a 6-man tag. The Usos teaming up with the United States Champion Sheamus go against Cesaro and Gold and Stardust, and the Usos were going to win with I admit either Jay or Jimmy. One of them got the pin on Cesaro. So Cesaro headed into Night of Champions so far without you know, just lost some momentum. Let's see. Let's get to the comments. Early comments. Right. All right. What's up, Shadow God for you? What's up, Nathan? What's up, Young J Way? I know you guys gotta be thinking, you know, this is a pretty unusual site. This is kind of a first of its kind. You know, it's just me by myself. But like I said, even though Chris is not here, it's just one of us. I plan on delivering twice the fun and twice the entertainment. And you guys know that John Cena is wearing black shorts? I think it's been a long ass time since that guy has worn black shorts. It's been since freaking 2006. 2006 since John Cena has worn black shorts. 2006. Think about that. Yeah. Well, hopefully, well, maybe John Cena put soap in Heyman's mouth since it's actually been 10 years since he first did it back on SmackDown. Okay, we got Young Jay Way. I think WWE is once again dropping the ball with young talent while focusing hard on these old guys. They need to be more creative in building the Wyatts. I will say I would like to see Bray be more vicious in attacking body parts. You know, the funny thing is, John, Young J-Way, Jamal, I was, not too long ago, I was reading an article on Bleacher Report about how to make Bray Wyatt, more threatening. And to be quite honest, in the article, something that stood out to me is that, you know, having him, assault referees, having him assault, you know, Justin Roberts, ring announcers, there's no rhyme or reason that much to some of those attacks, which really would make him very unpredictable. Also, in terms of him being this cult leader, you know, actually there being, long-term effects of being caught in that web of Bray Wyatt. You know, I maybe then wasn't able to watch old ECW, but looking at past footage, when I saw Ravens, with his master manipulations and everything, it wouldn't just be, yeah, Raven would do something, and then the next week, he would do something that would be psychological. It wouldn't be like the next show or so the person will be just fine, or they'll just pass it off. No, it would be the case of it would have like a lasting effect on somebody. Tommy Dreamer not being able to beat him for all those times. It had a lasting effect on Tommy Dreamer. Um, Tom, Tommy Dreamer, Raven and the Sandman, angle. Stuff like that. Um, when like when they said that, remember when they took Brian, and then they said the next week they dumped him off at a undisclosed parking lot. You know, we never really got, like what did they do? Like what was the lasting effect of, of that happening? Or also, why did they just leave Brian in an undisclosed parking lot? Same thing when they took Kane at SummerSlam. Kane just comes back and he just assaults the wife him, and then he was just going to turn heel. We didn't see like a lasting effect that had of him being, like what did they do to him? So stuff like that. And I apologize for the cough. About like last week, I came down with a cough. Right now, it's just now come down to just being a kind of an itchy throat. Um, but I believe that Bray, needs to. I'd like to see more vicious attacks, by Bray Wyatt. Because so far, to be quite honest, Bray Wyatt, you really think about it, the way he come, he's kind of more talk. He's just more talk he's more talk than action. How they how they pulling off his character, because you know it's more scarier. Yeah, because it's more scarier when you hear these things about someone, but then they actually go on to do it, reinforcing their words. It's really scary. You really get a scary person. Like, this person, they not only say these things, they'll try to go out to do it. Case in point, back in 2011, Mark Henry started that Hall of Pain. He became a real more intimidating figure because he was not only saying that he was going to take out Kane, Big Show, Kozlov, he actually went on to go do these things, by doing the Vader, get point in his face, doing, the Vader bomb, while their leg is between the chair. He got, a real threatening presence. Alright, Invictus is here. The problem is WWE needs to get away from this PG era and take some risks. Um, to be quite honest, I don't think it has really anything to do with being PG. And we've seen some cases of things on this show, late on the past shows, that were not PG. They weren't PG at all. They could take risks while keeping the P. Case in point. Look at this. Look at the Shawn Michaels Jericho feud. Probably the first big feud of the PG era. Because when that happened, when that feud took place in 2008, the PG era just started. And what did you have in that? Oh, here comes Brock Lesnar. But what did you have in that? You had Shawn Michaels getting thrown into the freaking Jeritron. You had compelling storytelling. You had Jericho. You had keeping the eye, Shawn Michaels' eye being damaged severely in play. And at the Bash pay-per-view, Shawn Michaels' eye got bloodied so horrifically that they stopped the match. Then at SummerSlam, they really topped it. Having Rebecca get punched in the face. Like, come on now. Then a year later, you had the Jeff Hardy CM Punk feud, which did wonders for both of them. You had CM Punk blatantly bringing up Jeff Hardy's, drug addiction, his drug past. And so it really has nothing to do with PG because during Nitro's height, it was PG. I believe some episode with that NWO, it was PG. I really don't think it really has anything. It might have something, but I don't think it's the most contributing factor that is because of the rating. It's like what JR said. Rating, it has not. A rating does not really make up a show. I mean, what makes a show good. Compelling storytelling, things that get you emotionally invested, makes a good product. I mean, do I need excessive profanity to be entertained by a wrestling show? No, I don't. I would like profanity to feel meaningful, not used every single promo to the point where it becomes the norm. Same thing on Blood. A lot of people, now in this day, and rightfully so, Blood is a pretty, shaky issue. Whether used for his though, it's pretty questionable. But when Blood is used right in the context of the story, I feel yeah, it makes it more impactful. I'll give you a case of when Blood is used every now and then where you almost become desensitized. I became desensitized and became so no. Back in 2009 or so, no, not 2009, 2010, TNA, mostly every Impact had Blood. And sometimes for the most minute reason. You had one time Ric Flair in a match with Matt Morgan, regular match. And only thing that happened was Matt Morgan did the typical, he lifted Flair up, dropped on the steel railing. And you know Ric Flair's bleeding. And I'm like, really? I don't need excessive blood. I don't need excessive profanity, to be entertained about a wrestling show. Oh, there we go. Wow, Cena actually missed. Actually missed. Oh my God. Cena actually missed Brock coming. I think I've never seen that in wrestling. Never. Just gonna walk away, huh? Cena's back. Oh! Uh, no. Whoa. Whoa. Taking him down. I don't know if you want to do that, Cena. Oh, shoot. Cena blocked the counter. That's the security. Yeah. Let them fight. Let them fight. um, we got some more comments. Young Jet. I also think WWE isn't taking advantage of the Sheamus and Cesaro match. They have some of the best have some of the best industry in WWE right now, but I think the rivalry isn't being built. Like Sheamus complimenting him, Cesaro, or comment these two guys. I think could just have a good rivalry as Rollins and Ambrose. Um, to be quite honest, um, in terms of the Sheamus Cesaro feud, I guess this is rekindling the feud they had earlier this year. To be quiet, you couldn't even tell that they were feuding. So yeah, um, I really think I agree with you, Jamal, that they're not really taking advantage of the Sheamus, Cesaro, you know. Okay, added okay, rivalry. That's good. Um, And there also, I think the Bree and Stephanie feud lately has blurred the lines and had got pretty firm, like the accusation of Brian was cheating got pretty serious in the PG. It's a creative team behind the scenes, the booking character. Yeah, while that blurred the line with that, I really think that, and you can tell that I think WWE realized that they didn't really need to take that route. That was never brought up ever again. The the whole accusation of Brian cheating. That to me, that had no that they had no place, especially at that last minute. You already did a good job, actually. Be quite honest, actually compelling the people in the crowd and everybody that you get emotionally invested in this in a feud between Bree and Stephanie, which was slowly built up. You actually was able to get people invested, get the desired reaction to everything, to Bree smacking Steph, to Bree, being in the crowd, and Stephanie smacking her, and them having the scruffle and everything, and Stephanie pedigreeing her. Yeah, the fans, really getting all into that, and then um, and then out of nowhere, you just throw this, this thing of Brian being accused of cheating with his, I guess, physical therapist or physical trainer or whatever. I mean, yeah, it got, but that really had no place. You guys already did a good job in building up this pretty real gritty, feud between Bree and Steph. Wasn't complex, wasn't convoluted. It was just simple but effective. And then they threw that, and I could tell. I'll tell you, I think W realized that then because it was never brought up ever again. The last thing you brought was yeah, with Bree getting arrested, and that was it. Wasn't brought up ever again. And Jay also okay. Cena, Cena, this actually has me intrigued for the match. Nah. Let's get ready for Cole, Dick Ryan, and Cena. Shaking my head, it's sad. I feel that the pull apart brawl. I had a feeling they was gonna do a pull apart brawl. Um, but I feel it could have been better before they got pulled apart. I didn't need to see them, get in contact too much. Sometimes save that for people to pay to go see, you know, Brock and Cena really, hammer into each other. Make people pay to go see that. Because there's sometimes where there's feuds, there's too much physicality between it where it's like, okay, I've seen these two have so many matches, and so many matches, you know, before a paper even happened. I would I like to rather have to. Oh boy. See, this is the stuff. I'm not gonna touch on this long, but this is the stuff I'm talking about. This thing, you can tell that this thing happened months ago, but yet they're going to use it. They're going to use it as if it just happened. How are if it happened months ago? How is the emotion of it is just as potent of whatever the consequence, just as potent, or the feeling is just as potent if it happened months ago and it's not just being brought up, that, that's the stuff about them trying to use total divas to to make these matches between the women of WWE. I mean, it's just absurd. It's just really absurd to me. Look at this Cameron. I guess she didn't go to pinning school. Person got to be on their back, not on their stomach. Oh, Cameron. Cameron, what the hell, Naomi? They said it was some comment. I just saw a comment from some Shadow Godfrey. What just happened? Uh, oh no, not yeah. Also, and Big Rick. Hey, Big Rick, how's it going? Um, I think the WWE needs to have more trust with their talent in terms of their promos. I think a lot of the promos are obviously scripted. Yes. The WWE should also get rid of gimmick pay-per-views such as Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, and Money in the Bank, and maybe even less pay-per-views so there is more build-up. um, yeah, at one point in WWE, well, I remember when WWE had about, I believe, like 13 pay-per-views because they had they had two in 1 month. I believe at one point, oh, I believe at one point they even had close to they, they even had close to look at they had close to probably 15 because they had two in the one time they had two in June. They had two in June and they had two in October. They had No Mercy and Cyber Sunday in October, and they had One Night Stand and Night of Champions one time in June. And around the 90s, that's when the whole monthly pay-per-view thing, you know, came about, and it's been around ever since. Uh, oh yeah! I love that submission hold of Naomi. Basically, it's basically like a can opener. Well, that's what the actual hold is called. I kind of wish that Naomi got some more offense before actually, beating Cameron instead of really kind of catching a fast one. Shout out for you. I don't know if it's just me, but I've really been enjoying TN ever since New York taping. No, it's not just you. The TNA shows in New York have been great. I'm they have definitely been great. Last show, last week, besides the um besides the match two in the tag team series between You know, the Hardys, the Wolves, and the tables match with the Hardys won. Besides that, the other highlight of that show was Gail Kim and Jessica Havoc. I mean, they they had this. They were gonna announce the cover girl of the 2015 TNA calendar with the knockout. Turned out to be Velvet Sky, and I had a feeling I'm like something's not gonna go right. Something's gonna go hairy. They know after it's announced, Havoc comes, and Gail immediately bolts Havoc, showing no intimidation. But Gail gets thrown into the railings. Next thing you know, the beautiful people, they push Santana or Brittany into Havoc. And Havoc, who's on the apron, choke slams Santana, who's in the ring, choke slams her, and then steals the Knockout Championship. And that would not be the end of it, because then you would see Gail calling out Havoc in the back. She's trying to find her. Finally, Gail does find her, and they resume where they left off. They fight all the way back out to the stage until the securities till the securities get involved. And unfortunately, securities, they pay for their troubles or pay for doing their jobs, because Havoc will whip one across, and then, my gosh, I've seen choke slams on the floor, but man, whoever saw Impact, did you see the security guard's head, the back of his head, when it popped off that freaking arena floor? I'm like, good Lord. I mean, good Lord. I mean, and it was funny because you had Taz, before, Havoc was going to choke slam him, him like really emphasizing, Mike, that's a dude, man, that's a dude. They said, they got Mike saying, look, and here comes Taz. She just choke slammed that dude. I mean, so far within 2 shows, I feel that TNA so far has done a good job. So far, so good in making, Jessica Havoc a threat to the Knockouts division, and then specifically to Gail Kim. I think they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, they already have her on the fast track, which is pretty understandable because, let's face it, besides Taryn Terrell, I don't even know what Brittany or Santana is now. I don't know if she's a face, she's a heel. She's still a heel because of Madison. We saw signs of Madison, I guess, turning heel when she had that match with Taryn. She tried to put her feet on the rope. But, you already had Madison. You had the beautiful people. I'm not surprised that Havoc is already on the fast track facing Gail because, if you think about it, most everybody else Gail had like an angle with. So when you put it in that sense, it's understandable that Havoc is on the fast track to Gail and might possibly beat Gail at Bound for Glory if what the hell? What in the hell? Oh, oh my gosh. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, R-Truth. And yeah, wait, one thing. Wait, name and Shamat forward camera shouldn't be closed. Yep. And Jay, one thing I would say: why not close Raw with Cena and Lesnar I mean, it is the main event. True that. True that. I'm surprised that for the go home show of Raw, that did not close it out. Unless we could be wrong, but maybe something happens backstage, or unless something really big is going to happen between, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins before, to give their match and our champ some momentum. I guess TNA has improved since Vince Russo got fired. There is no more overbooking and stupid angles that make no sense, and probably more influence from the likes of Bully Ray. There's not that much horrendous overbooking. I think the last really case of real horrendous overbooking in a match was probably AJ Styles' last match. But to be quite honest, the only real angle that I really couldn't care less for was it's the whole bromance, and now it's led up to them hooking up with the beautiful people. I really couldn't care less about that angle, to be quite honest. And Victor, did you see what almost happened to Seth Rollins when the cage was being lowered last week? He was so good. Yeah, man. I pointed that out. I pointed that out on the last Raw. Seth Rollins was so lucky to avoid that spike. Because we finally got to see how, I guess for this steel cage model, how it's, when they come down, it's actually hooked. And when Seth Rollins was being thrown out by Roman Reigns, yeah, the spike almost came down on him. Like, it really did. He almost got impaled. Sinqua, CN. I have a question for everybody. With wrestling the way it is, where do you think wrestling will be in 10 years? In my opinion, I think a change needs to happen quick, fast, and in a hurry. I feel that the PG era has run its course to no end. This is how I feel about it. You may disagree with me on it, but it's how I feel. Your thoughts? I can't speak for everybody. I hope everybody, contributes to your participates in your questions, Sin. But in terms of wrestling in 10 years, see, when I'm not saying that you're doing it, Sin, but when I think of the word wrestling, I'm not just thinking of WWE, because that's the general, I guess, consensus. When somebody says wrestling, of course, the first thing they're going to think, or possibly the only thing they're going to think of, is WWE. To them, WWE is the only thing that comes to mind wrestling. Basically, WWE is wrestling. Basically, there's nothing more to wrestling than WWE. It starts with WWE and ends with WWE. On a global base, on a media base, it does. No doubt about it. WWE, it's a global empire and all that. But for me, my wrestling does not end with WWE. Yeah, I grew up being a WWF/WWE fan. But as I grew older, my horizon broadened. Further, I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you right here now. And I feel no regret saying this. If WWE was, let's say, end today, would I feel sad? Yes. Because in terms of wrestling on a global, on a, pop culture or just a media stand base will be gone. But if WWE ended, and let's say, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw Shimmer is still around. It, it, it won't end for me because I still have something that I enjoy. Because to be quiet, when there's things in WWE, if it's a show in WWE that I'm not really feeling, I'll watch a Shimmer event or I'll watch a past WWE show, you know, to really boost my spirit. You know, okay, man, you know, it's pretty good. Now, in terms of being a wrestler, yeah, I think if WWE was the end, it would suck because, you know, then you would have really no place, you know, to go. There would be no next step. However, there are a lot of um, independent wrestlers that strive in wherever they're in. You know, they have no problem if you know if they, when they say, you know, if I was never picked up by WWE, I would be fine. There's a lot of wrestlers that you know say that, and when they say it, I can tell that it's all truthfulness. It's all truthfulness because sometimes most independent wrestlers they like to travel, especially if they get to work in Japan. You know, they love that. They love to get um, a taste of, you know, the strong style. If they're if they work in Mexico, now they're being now they're having the lucha libre side of wrestling, you know, instilled in their mind. So they learn all these different styles of wrestling. You know, if they wrestle in the UK, they're getting that more technical style. You know, instilled. They're becoming more well-rounded. But I, I think the bigger question to your question, Stigma, is in 10 years, will there be another boom like the Attitude Era, which was the last real boom for wrestling? I'm not so sure because there's some factors that led to that boom, and the most heaviest factor was the strong competition. And could it just be that in the 90s, you know, or in early 2000, the hell, you know, could it just be that in the 90s and, you know, in early 2000, because of the nature of the 90s, that, you know, in your face, anti-establishment, that immediately related to the audience because that was the nature of the 90s. You know, was that one of the reasons why there was that was the last boom? Because it hit home to the nature of the 90s. Anti-establishment, anti-heroes, you know, um, over-sexualization, you know, excessive violence, you know, that crash TV style where it's just, you know, something exciting is happening every single second, even no matter if it makes sense or not. It could just be it that in the 90s, early 2000s, that because that hit home with the nature of that time period, wrestling was where it was at. Also, it could, yeah, you know, in terms of talent, you know, picking the right talent for the right character and letting them be that character to the fullest. So, yeah, but I think it's a good about time to actually get to the theme of the corner, which is Brock Lesnar. As far as Brock Lesnar is concerned, Brock Lesnar, when the guy debuted back in 2002, I believe the night after WrestleMania 18. Um, He I mean, from the get go, I remember that was 2002. So that was about about March 2002, because that WrestleMania was in March. But that was about March 2002. So I was about I was about 8 years old. 8 years old. And here comes this big blonde haired dude. It's during a hardcore match, and he's cleaning the house. I mean, you know, it was almost like a sweep. It was almost like a freaking, you know, supermarket sweep. That's how he was cleaning the house. I mean, when he did the power bomb and Spike Dudley and everything, and then Paul Heyman comes back, and it's like, oh shoot, this is Brock Lesnar. It's like, okay, who's this guy? And, seeing his feats of strength, and then, what, him, then his move, the F5, it was innovative. I never saw it before. It was like, whoa, what's that? Whoa, shoot. That's very interesting, very appealing. Hold on. Sorry about that. Phone call. And then and also I got something to drink. Um, yeah. So the F5 was really big, and then to see that he was able to do it on the likes of Rikishi, Mark Henry, what as Booker T was like, the greatest of ease. It's just like, Joe, shoot, this guy's a monster. And then when I remember seeing what he did to Hogan, I'm like, shoot, that's freaking Hulk Hogan. I maybe wasn't able to see Hulk Hogan, in the 80s. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s. And even when he was in his Hollywood days, I was watching WWE more. So when I first heard of Hulk Hogan, it was during WCW. So I thought he was a WCW guy, at first, because, yeah, that's when I first saw him. But, but then, understanding the legacy, the legend, the myth, or whatever of Hulkamania, it's like, oh, shoot, he's Brock Lesnar, he's doing this to Hulk Hogan. It was one of the worst beatings Hulk Hogan took. I mean, Brock didn't even pin him. I believe he won by knockout, or they stopped the match. I mean, it was like, oh shoot. Isn't that around that time, he was going to face The Rock. It's like, if he was able to do that to freaking Hulk Hogan, imagine what he could do to The Rock. and then he became WWE champion. You know, almost just like that. I mean, and then you hear his background, him being, in collegiate wrestling and being a champion there. And the thing was, even though Brock got a real, monster push, it wasn't like where he came and, I'm not, he might have not, and gets, paid his dues. You know, he was once again on a fast track to W Championship. But the stuff that Brock did, it was believable that he was that dominant. I mean, mostly everything Brock Lesnar did in that ring, and until to this day, I clown on, me and Chris clown on him and stuff. Still to this day, the stuff that he does, it's not phony. It doesn't come across phony. The only thing that really came across phony with Brock was when before he fought Goldberg, he got on his knees and, please, Vince McMahon, give me Goldberg. That right there, I'm like, ugh. But in terms of his moves and everything, they were legit. And then we see him F5 freaking Big Show at Survivor Series. Remember me and Chris watching that at home on pay-per-view. And that was the whole thing of the story. Can he suplex Big Show? No. Can he F5 him? Excuse me. Can he do it? And then he dug all that. Freaking overhead bellied him. And then F5'd him. And then he got screwed by Paul Heyman. It was like, oh, shoot. And then he would go on to turn face. And, he had a couple of, he had a pretty good match with, as a face. Hold up again. All right, back. No, you have, as a face, you have some classics with. Oh, you have some classics with Kurt Angle and Big Show. And then he would go back being a heel. But then, his first tenure with WWE come to an end in 2004 with that very drastic and very disappointing WrestleMania 20 match, which should have been one of the best matches in WrestleMania history, and it turned out to be a complete dud. Now, I remember seeing one of your questions was prefer, Brock Lesnar as a face or a heel. Heel. No doubt about it. I mean, Brock Lesnar is a natural heel. I mean, I'm not going to lie. He comes across too believable as a remorseless, sadistic, arrogant bully. Comes across too believable. to the point where I'm wondering, yo, no, especially now, Brock, especially his recent stuff. You know, it's like almost besides him being such this beast and everything in real life. Would you really want to you try in real life? Don't you want to see that guy get his? One day you wish that he gets his. One day that this guy, this bully, this smug, vicious bully doesn't give a crap about anybody, dude gets his one day. I mean, that's what Brock is. I mean, when I'm not even the biggest Cena fan, but when Brock cut that promo, they had that vignette, that video package. For them, it almost brings a tear in my eye. And that smug. So that's another thing. Brock, his smirk is so smug that it's easy to really grit your teeth at. Same thing for goes for Triple H. You ever see Triple H just smug? It's that type of smug where you just want to punch that person in the face. Man, Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar and I'm about to say Kurt Angle. Brock Lesnar and Triple H. There's others, but those two, in particularly, they got the most smug smirks ever. I mean, when they smirk, you're like, oh man, I don't care if I'm gonna break my if it's Brock. I don't care if I'm gonna break my fist on your big ass head. I don't care if I'm gonna get stretchered out, man. That smirk is just so effective that I just want to punch you in the face. Same thing for Triple H. This is my problem, man. I'm. You never had a broken nose in your life. I don't think so. I don't think you ever had one. But man, this is gonna be the day for your ass that you're gonna get that broken nose. I guarantee you that. Oh, I'm really surprised that this match is going on as long since they are gonna face off at Night of Champions. I'm really surprised. Look out! Oh. But back to Brock Lesnar. Yeah. Natural heel. Now, when he was a face, when he was a. Hold up, guys. Somebody at the door.
Tomorrow morning, after you get yourself together and stuff, just before you go out the door, right? Not as soon as you wake up, but after you get yourself washed and everything. Prior to you stepping up there to start to the door, give me yourself a push. You my good. You save me money for having to buy. I set alarm clock. I set you for the school so just as you can go before you can go out, give me a push. So during the weekdays, that'll be about what? Maybe about 5:45, 6 o'clock. Yeah, if I'm not already up, give me a push. There's some things I want to do. I want to get.
All right, back. Um, oh man, I am really surprised that they are having them. That they are having this much content and this actual of a match, and they're gonna face off at Night of Champions. No! And Reigns is about to. Wow. And what's the point of Night of Champions if Reigns won? And he won cleanly. I mean, if the whole thing was for Reigns to win, I would think that you would maybe want to have people pay to see Reigns get revenge on Rollins. It looks like Young Jay, it looks like it's gonna that Mark Henry and Rusev is going to get the main event spot. I know there was some comments. Okay, yeah, here we go. Young Jay, yeah, bro, Young Jay. I think Brock is unique in the fact that he's the only guy that has that same intimidating presence as Goldberg, which not many people can say. Like when that music hits, there's a feel of whoever's in that ring need to get out before the exactly. Brock Lesnar's music fits him to a T, and because of his intimidating presence, yeah, when you know his theme hits that first couple seconds of that theme, we're like, oh crap, oh shoot, like so and that's pretty hard, and You know, it's pretty hard in wrestling to have that legitimacy factor. Well, like for him, I've said it before. I don't know if I said it on the Wrestling Corner, but I've said it before. I've said it to Chris that The Undertaker is a natural, intimidating looking guy. I mean, when Taker looks angry, and there have been times where he gets on his knees, he's doing this, his signature pose, and he'll just be glaring at the camera, and the camera's zooming up, and the lights are all dark, and everything, but you can still see that he's staring at you. It's like, oh shoot, man, would you just stop staring at me? Just stop it. I mean, if you ever watch the No Mercy 2003 promo for him and Brock Lesnar, their biker chain match, there's a part where he's got Brock Lesnar by the throat, and he's just yelling in his face. In his face, it looks so intimidating. His eyes all bigger, and it's like, yo, stop it. Be like, if it was me, man, just choke slam me, take it. I don't want to be looking at your face, you yelling at me like that. So there's a couple of guys, a couple people in wrestling that, their presence on TV was, you felt it. They had a unique presence. I mean, Brock is one of them. Goldberg is one of them. I mean, Taker's one of them. Austin, I mean, you could not help but feel that this guy could whip somebody's ass like that when he came out. You could help but feel that whoever was his victim was going to get their ass whipped once they stepped in that ring. I mean, legit. I mean, same thing could be said for Vader. And by the time I grew up, Vader, I guess, was done with wrestling. But looking back, he had an intimidating presence himself. Big Van Vader, he said that name, it's like, shoot. I mean, looking back, another person, Bruiser Brody, late Bruiser Brody. Hearing story that, yeah, he was legitimately intimidating. So, I think we're looking, favorite matches, because Sin asked for favorite matches of, Brock Lesnar's career. Got a couple of favorite matches. And there's even some matches that I got to go back and watch because some of them was on SmackDown or so. I remember as a young kid, all right, Shadow God, for you, take care, stay easy. I remember as a young kid, I used to try to stay away for the longest time. I tried to stay away from the Brock Rock match. For some reason, when I always that match always left a bad taste in my mouth. I guess because I wanted Rock to win so bad, and for just some reason, I guess it was just my bias towards the Rock. And the funny thing is, there was matches where Rock lost, and I had no problem, but some reason, and Chris even though it was for him too. When he got the special edition of SmackDown Raw 2007, there came and we still have it. There came a compilation disc. Compilation. The third disc of the history of the W Championship compilation DVD, the disc 3. And on disc 3, it has Brock Lesnar versus The Rock. And most of the time that match used to be skipped. But then one time I sat down and watched it again, I'm thinking to myself, this match was, I don't know why did I try to stay away from this match. I don't know why. I'm even thinking, like, I don't know why. I guess because, Chris didn't really like Rock, really losing to Brock Lesnar or so, or whatever the case may be, Brock being pushed too fast. But the match itself was good. I mean, it really put Brock over. You know, while there were some dirty tactics that was pulled off in that match, it wasn't like it wasn't a dirty finish. Brock Lesnar cleanly beat The Rock. Countered the Rock bottom into a F5. Clean as a sheet. Clean as Canadian water. Another favorite Brock Lesnar match. Is the Hell in a Cell match with Taker at No Mercy 2002. I warn you, for people that have not ever seen that match, that graphic content, is to be advised. That had to be the worst blade job I've ever seen for Taker. He was bleeding so bad that his leather pants, you can see his leather pants were bloody. I mean, it was the worst I've ever seen Taker bleed. Big time. It was just, oh gosh, just graphic. Very graphic. Yeah, Brock bled in that match, but it wasn't as bad as Taker. To be quite honest, Brock Lesnar's blood cleared up by the end. That wasn't for Taker. Taker literally had the proverbial, crimson mask. That's how bad it was. My only problem with that match is that after the match is over, for anybody, and I've said this before, after that match was over, Brock Lesnar just completely no-sells what happened in that match. During the match, he's selling everything. Once the bell rings, it's like that match never happened. And I would not be surprised if Taker, in the back maybe, confront him about that because, whether Brock did it intentional or not, working like, at that time, 2002, he could, still be, rookie stuff, but you don't just no-sell everything in a Hell in a Cell match. You see what I mean? It's like, the keyword is hell. And it's not like you were just dishing out talent, you didn't give any and you didn't get any in return. Most Hell in a Cells, you dish out hell and get it right back. And Brock just completely no-sold everything after the match was over. He climbed to the top. He ain't climbed up, but after the match, he just popped up, bust the cage door open, picked up his belt, climbed all the way up, raised the belt. Almost like nothing ever happened. To be quite honest, I have still yet to see the whole. Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle WrestleMania match. But I did see, their following matches. I saw, of course, SummerSlam 03, the WrestleMania rematch, when the sides returned. Kurt Angle was now the face, and Brock Lesnar was the heel. And that was a great match. And then they did one better with the Iron Man match on SmackDown, one of SmackDown's best matches. When Brock Lesnar got the title back from Kurt Angle. Wow. Oh, shoot. One thing that stood out about the Brock Lesnar-Kurt Angle feud is that when they switched sides, it did not make it. It did not really make it for the worse. To be quite honest, I think a little bit made for a little bit of the better, or it might not. Could just stay the same, but because it still led to great match. But both of them were, Greco-Roman, collegiate wrestling and everything, amateur style, Olympic style wrestling. But while while they were similar in that aspect, you look at the size of Kurt Angle. Yeah, Kurt Angle, 6'2". Not saying Kurt Angle was a small guy, like a real small guy, but Brock Lesnar is more stronger, while Kurt Angle, I guess, is more technical. So while they were similar, while they were similar, they were also foils of each other. And they were good foils of each other. That's why I think I really liked when the roles switched to. And that's why actually, I liked it more when the roles were switched to Kurt Angle being the face and Brock Lesnar being, also because, yeah, Brock Lesnar made a better heel. Uh-oh. Um, Another Brock Lesnar match. I'm trying to remember I'm trying to remember, did I actually watch, the famous ring break match between him and Big Show on SmackDown. I'm trying to remember, did I actually watch that match? Or I think I have yet to actually watch that in its entirety. But what followed that match, which was the triple threat match for the first ever SmackDown only pay-per-view, Vengeance 2003, with Brock Lesnar defending his title against Big Show, Kurt Angle. That was an awesome triple threat match. Awesome. From Brock Lesnar powerbombing Big Show, from Kurt Angle, Angle slamming Big through the announce table, from him and Brock Lesnar, having a couple of minutes to themselves for Kurt Angle finally got the pin on him. I mean, it was just straight up awesome. Trying to think of some other good matches Brock Lesnar had. For his first tenure. Before Royal Rumble 2004, he was still champion. He had some good match, or I think a good match with Chris Benoit. And I remember that's when Paul Heyman, stuck at the Benoit saying, you'll never become WWE champion. And then Benoit will go on to win that year's Royal Rumble, 2004 Royal Rumble, and then go on to, now when I'm thinking about it, it was still pretty weird that, because that storyline was still in place. Like, will Benoit get another crack at Brock? And then Benoit somehow comes over to Raw. And now, I'm not really I'm not really knocking it, because it led to one of the best triple threat matches, and now it's almost like a figment of the imagination now, because, what happened with Brock Lesnar. I mean, with Chris Benoit. So, and then Brock Lesnar's last best match. His last best match in his first tenure had to have been, there had to have been against Eddie Guerrero at No Way Out 2004. Me and Chris didn't watch No Way Out 2004 live on pay-per-view. So it took a couple of years before I finally got to see that match home. And man, that took such a good David and Goliath story. And yes, Goldberg get him up, but I keep, every time I hear, somebody, but they put, Goldberg got involved in, but when you actually watch, because for some reason when they show highlights of the match, they'll edit it as if, Goldberg's interference was the contributing factor to Eddie Guerrero's win. No, it wasn't. After Goldberg spit Brock Lesnar, the match went on for like a couple of minutes, a couple more minutes. Then it came when Brock Lesnar tried to F5 Eddie Guerrero again, and then and Eddie countered to a DT on the belt, and then he hit the frog splash. Goldberg's spear wasn't a contributing factor. It wasn't like spear, referees down, spear, Eddie Guerrero gets on top of frog splash. That's how they edited it out to look like sometimes. So I guess that's how some people get the impression that yeah, that's how it happened because of Goldberg. Eddie Guerrero won. It wasn't the case. Okay, wait. Oh, this was 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry about missing this. I think everything needs evolution, but I think W serves from the lighter competition. I mean, they dominate the market. I mean, there's the indie circuit, but what makes a product better is rivals forcing the product to constantly to evolve. Better and take risks. Do I think the PGR has run its course? Yes and no. You have to look at it from a business perspective. The PGR has gained Vince a lot, but for divers like me, it's get difficult to watch, especially. Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark. Check over it. Oh, yeah. Oh! Oh! Damn. Come on, Mark. Fight it. Oh, he's got the face. He's got the face. He's got the face. Once you see the curl, you know Mark Henry. He's got this. Yeah. Oh! I've never seen Mark Henry do a choke bomb. Get the hell out of this room. I've never seen Mark Henry do a choke bomb. Never. There to go, Mark. Okay. Hey, this was Big Rich response to the the intimidating presence. I would say Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Undertaker, Austin, even the Rock Theory when he beat up Foley in that quit match. So Brock Lesnar, he is that typical heel, especially with how vicious he beats down the phone. Yeah, Rock, Rock really his villainous factor or threat really skyrocketed with that I Quit match. I mean, that was the most vicious I believe Rock has ever got in the ring. Now he did some vicious stuff in his movies, but in the ring, I mean, that was the most sadistic and receiving the Rock character ever be. So, yeah. and you come to expect that when somebody go against Mick Foley. To be quite honest, that's the only way you can handle Mick Foley. You gotta either try to get as, or heck, if it's possible, more sadistic than he is. Um, I saw somebody mention the Brock. Here we go. Yeah, Jump. I like Cena Lesnar back to them three. That match was all right. That match was all right. Um, I still think that if Kurt didn't have that injury, that match would never happen at Backlash '03. I think that it would have been obviously the rematch, WrestleMania rematch. But it was all right. I mean, oh, I mean, even prior to that match, there was history between Brock Lesnar um and John Cena. This was back when John Cena was a heel, and he was just in the kind of early stage of his Doctor uh, Thugonomics gimmick. And I believe throughout the build-up, while Brock Lesnar was dealing with Kurt Angle, there would be times where, yeah, John Cena would try to, start stuff with Brock Lesnar. So it was history between them, it wasn't like, oh, where's this coming from? There was history between them before John Cena won that number one contenders tournament to go against Brock. And then as far as Brock, but I think outside, or Young Joey, I think. But I think my favorite outside the current match is the Eddie Guerrero match at No Way Out. Yep. Okay. All right. J-Way again. Great stuff, Mark. By the way, Mark's run in WWE is underrated, in my opinion. From Sexual Chocolate to the whole Silverback, Hall of Pain, even stuff with Cena. When you look back, Mark has had a great run. Hall of Fame for sure. Yes, I have to agree with that. I believe, I know underrated, overrated, they're used a lot to the point where you might even say they're misused. So, I'm not so sure if Mark Henry's run is underrated or is just not. It's not underrated, but it's just not, as talked about as, just somebody like an Austin or so, of course. But yeah, if you look at the evolution of Mark Henry, Sexual Chocolate, to with the to the dreads back in '03, to being with Teddy Long, to being the guy that took out Batista, and then doing the old Silverback when he took out Undertaker, and how many chances upon chances W gave him to really be that monster heel, and then most every time the heel with the push was going, he would get hurt. So, he became injury prone. He became known for being injury prone. And then he finally hits his mark with the Hall of Pain stuff. I mean, he finally hit it. Now, I'm not saying, oh, Mark Henry came, he did the Hall of Pain. All of his matches were classic. No, all of his matches were the same thing for, JBL. The JBL character worked, but not all of his matches were classics. Not all of them. Some of them were, like, man. So with Mark Henry, the Hall of Pain, yeah, not all of his matches were classics, but the personality of the Hall of Pain, gimmick, you felt it. He, as I always say, he finally started to live up to his theme music, and it's pretty funny that it took him that long to finally live up to somebody's going to get their ass whipped, all that. But Nathan Beck, what match are you looking forward to at at Night of Champions. Um, to be quite honest, you got the Cena Brock match. I want to see how different, but um, I have a feeling, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, that the Usos go to Stardust might turn out to be really something. I think it might turn to be really something. Um, Now, as far as wrapping this thing up with wrapping the whole Brock Lesnar thing up, to be quite honest, I'm about to wrap up the show. As far as Brock Lesnar's second tenure in WWE, which is, I guess you can count this, or I guess you can count it as this. This is his second tenure because he's had so many returns since he's come back in 2012. I mean, the match against Cena, I think it's looked as a instant class because how different it was. It really felt different. It didn't feel, like your standard, wrestling match. It felt really different. I mean, it just felt, it just had a different feel to it, from the start with Cena is freaking getting his head gashed, you know, within the opening moments of the match. From how the chain was used when Cena freaking clocked him in the face and everything. Yeah, it just felt really gritty. It felt really gritty. Then, as far as the match with Triple H at SummerSlam, I haven't seen that match since it came on since it happened. Uh, um, I don't know, man. The match with Triple H, nah. There were matches that fans were looking forward to because oh man, this thing should have happened, in 2002, 2003, and then when they happened, a couple, 10 years later, you know, I mean, I just find it so funny for the WrestleMania that, basically Triple H, he came back out of retirement to have a retirement match. It just sounds so funny. Um, so I don't think really any of the Triple H, like I was into them, but I don't know if they were favorites of mine. But I don't know. Yep. All right, I'm back. Um, Match against CM Punk. Man, was into that match from beginning to end. Brock really needed that match, but once again, I'm not so sure if those Triple H matches really did. I'm not even sure they did favors. I don't even think they did harm to him. It was just very. I think it was pretty stagnant. But that CM Punk match, and for some reason, that was the last match where Brock Lesnar did more than a German suplex and an F5. But that match was awesome. I mean, Punk and Lesnar, they clashed very well. I mean, there's a lot of matches where they look good on paper, but when you see them, they're not all as you thought they would be. And sometimes that happens. It just happens. Sometimes, these stars, they don't click well. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. But Brock and CM Punk, they were the exception. They were two established wrestlers that clicked well, and it turned out to be one hell of a match for SummerSlam 2013. Be quite honest, that's probably my last favorite, Brock match. I mean, that I remember seeing. Because I've seen mostly of his SmackDowns, but I'm trying to remember. He's had a couple of classics on SmackDown. The one with Benoit, which I go back to seeing, and yeah, the one with Big Show, of course. The Iron Man match with, he had one with Rey Mysterio. He had a couple matches with Rey Mysterio, but he had one when he just turned heel again, and Rey was Cruiserweight champion. I saw it on YouTube. I gotta go back and watch that. But but yeah, because the Undertaker match, you know it. You know it. If Chris was here, how Chris was not one of my favorite matches at all. And once again, it has nothing to do with Brock being the one to beat Brock, because I've seen Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker. I always wish Taker would get that win over Brock Lesnar, but he never did. It was just, for that to be Taker's last match, it really was left. It really, once again, something had a lot to be desired. It really did. It really did. But to the point when, when the final three came out, I'm like, the match even ended. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, well, wait, really? It ended? Now, I don't think that the last Cena match is a favorite of mine, but it was shocking what transpired. How that match took place was shocking to me, as it was to everybody. All right, like Mick Foley is one of the cases where it was something that needed to be done, but you would not think that WWE would have taken that route. Yeah, have Cena basically get dominated at SummerSlam. But I just want to give one before I close this out. I just want to give one prediction for Night of Champions. I do not think that Cena and Brock this time is going to end with a clear winner, because when I think about the next pay coming up, is Hell in a Cell. WWE's done this before, but why would you have Brock Lesnar go against a new challenger in a Hell in a Cell match? Once again, that's defeating the purpose of Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell, I just would be, just randomly put together. I believe that Cena and Brock is not going to be the clear winner, and it's finally going to come to an end in the Hell in a Cell, which I think will be befitting. And you never know. Because it's Brock Lesnar, and they might take a risk. You never know. It might get bloody. It just might. It just might. You never know. You never know. Because I really can't see, you know, and another thing, if Cena was to lose, if Cena was to lose with no effort, no doubts, there's no, oh, because of this happened. No, the same thing happens at SummerSlam. I'll be surprised. Man, where was Cena be going? What'll be next with him? So I really don't think Night of Champions is gonna be the end. As as Brock Lesnar says, it's over, my friend. I don't think so, my friend. I think this comes to an end at Hell in a Cell. And hopefully this might be the last Hell in a Cell because I, I'm I'm really getting tired of Hell in a Cell being, an annual thing. And it shouldn't be because you get instances where you get, you have Mark Henry and Randy Orton in the Hell in a Cell. The feud wasn't that, it wasn't no blood feud. It wasn't that, you know, that much hatred between that. Yeah, it belonged in the Hell in a Cell. No, even Brian and Orton. I never got the impression that, oh yeah, this feud's come to the point where, yeah, the only option is Hell in a Cell. No, never got that out. Never got that impression. Now for Brock Lesnar and Cena, yeah, I can get that impression that those two want each other so bad. We just seen it. That they want at each other so bad that, yeah, put them in a Hell in a Cell. But so I really don't see Night of Champions ending with a clear-cut winner. I really don't. Or just a win that, um, just a win that, is close-ending. There's no rematches open for discussion. None. Let me just check to make sure that there's no comments that I did not read. Make sure. Sure. Okay, checking. Okay. Thanks for, joining me for this wrestling corner. I guess this, I'm not gonna say once in a lifetime, you never know. But with just me by myself, just kicking it with, Hulkland 93, me by myself. I believe I did a pretty good job by myself. Once again, I think I delivered on what I said to, deliver, twice the fun, even though it's only one Bennett brother. And hopefully, next week, the band will be back together. But, you never know. It depends on Chris's schedule. Just like for today, Chris had to work. So, just left it with me. Once again, thanks for joining this wrestling corner. This was episode 2 of season 3. Theme was basically Brockanized and basically on Night of Champions. Hopefully you enjoy Night of Champions. Me and Chris will check out Night of Champions. Once again, if Chris doesn't have to work, but I know for sure, I can speak for myself that I will check out Night of Champions on Sunday. Once again, thanks for commenting. This is Hulk 3 in the place to be. Stay easy, guys.